Please welcome Andreas Kosmida, Managing Director of the Falling Walls Foundation.
Woo! Yes? How did you like this pitch day? Huh? Woo! You guys did amazing, plainly amazing. Let me share just a couple of snippets that I learned. I learned from Melanie that actually that the engaged jury could not reach a consensus and she had to put her foot down to bring it to a vote because it was so close at the end. So amazing. And I learned from former KIT President Eberhard Umbach. Eberhard, great that you joined us, that you could actually see his words, that these will be the leaders of tomorrow. Thank you for this assessment. And when I talked to Wolfgang Marquardt, who was to chair the lab jury, that the tough part will come. He just looked at me with a little crooked smile. We will do our best. It will be hard. So you guys did fantastic. You put a great task on the jury. Right. So I have the great opportunity and pleasure to introduce the very highlight speaker of this evening while the jury is deliberating. And it's my great honor and privilege to introduce to the stage, after all this almost impossible research that you introduced to us, the founder of the improbable researches and the founder of the Ig Nobel Prizes. Please give it up for Marc Abrahams.
Thank you. Yep. Okay. Okay, thank you, Andreas. I'm going to tell you about the Ig Nobel Prizes, and first I'm going to tell you about timekeeping. What's going to happen here is I'm going to take about 15 minutes to give you sort of the history and everything about the Ig Nobel Prizes, and then we have some living Ig Nobel Prize winners seated over here. So you'll get 2 lectures from them. 2 of them are part of a team. They will each have 5 minutes, and then after that, the bunch of us will ask each other questions, and we hope you will ask us questions. You see the quote here. This was the acceptance speech at the Ig Nobel Prize ceremony from one of the winners years ago. He said, "Life should be long, speeches should be short." At the Ig Nobel ceremony, we have technology to keep the speeches short. This is our technology. Every year, we recruit a really cute little 8-year-old girl who has a particular kind of personality. Whenever she feels somebody has talked long enough, she lets them know. She stands up, she walks all the way across the stage up to the person. She goes up to the person and she says, "Please stop. I'm bored. Please stop. I'm bored. Please stop. I'm bored. Please stop. I'm bored." And it works. We did not recruit and bring an 8-year-old girl with us for that purpose or for any other this year. But we have timekeeping methods that will work just about as well that involve bananas. And you will see those in a bit. We call this kind of thing where we have a discussion Ig Nobel Face-to-Face. All of this is about improbable research, which is the name of my magazine, but it's about all this kind of research that there's something about it that's really not what you expect. That's why it's improbable. It's not impossible, but it's not probably what you expect. And the Ig Nobel Prizes, we've been giving out prizes for that kind of research every year. 10 prizes. And this is what it's about. It's really about, if we choose well, every Ig Nobel Prize winner has done something that's surprising. It's so surprising that the immediate effect is to make anybody, anywhere, laugh and then think. It causes people to laugh the moment they hear about it, and then it stays in their head, so for the next week, all they want to do is tell their friends about it. That's what we aim for. I'll give you a little quick glimpse at some of the winners from past years. Again, 10 winners every year. We've done this since 1991. So this was the 35th year of the prizes. This was the acceptance speech from a team of Swiss scientists. And if you can read the paper that it's based on, they published this. It's a research paper called "Are Full or Empty Beer Bottles Sturdier? And does their fracture threshold suffice to break the human skull?" They were trying to answer the simple question, is it better to be hit over the head with a full bottle of beer or to be hit over the head with an empty bottle of beer? The answer to that question, the reason they were doing this, was because there were several legal cases in the court system in Switzerland that depended on the answer to that question. Part of the answer is it is not good to be hit over the head with a bottle of beer, as he did here. This is Dr. Elena Bodnar, and you can see a drawing here that's from the patent she has that won an Ig Nobel Prize. She calls this the emergency bra. She describes it as a brassiere that in an emergency can be quickly separated into a pair of protective face masks, one for you, one for somebody else. All I'll tell you about it right now is she grew up in Ukraine. That's where she went to medical school, and she was one of the doctors who treated victims of the Chernobyl power plant. That's what got her thinking about this. This was at the Ig Nobel ceremony. Now, at the ceremony, the winners come from around the world at their own expense because we don't have any money. Every year, the ceremony has been in the US at Harvard University or Massachusetts Institute of Technology or Boston University. And every year, we have on the stage some Nobel Prize winners who shake hands with each Ig Nobel Prize winner and hand them their prizes. So Dr. Bodnar, who invented the emergency bra, her first public demonstration was on stage. That's what you're seeing here. So she held up the bra. Actually, she reached inside her dress and pulled it out, separated it, and then she looked over at the Nobel laureates and she said, "I need 3 volunteers." That's what you're seeing. The man in black won the Ig Nobel Peace Prize. He is the inventor of karaoke. He is Japanese. The reason it was the Peace Prize was that by inventing karaoke, he invented an entirely new way for people to learn to tolerate each other. He gave his acceptance speech, and then 3 Nobel laureates came up behind him, put their arms around him, and gave him a karaoke tribute. And the whole crowd stood up and joined in. This won the Physics Prize one year. It's a research paper called Pressures Produced When Penguins Poo, Calculations on Avian Defecation. In the photograph taken from above, you see poo, excrement that comes out from penguins. This research team calculated how much pressure must build up inside a penguin to make this happen. This is from another patent. This won an Ig Nobel Prize, patent in 1965, granted to George and Charlotte Blonsky, who were a married couple. They described this as a device to assist a woman in giving birth by using centrifugal force. Their invention is a large round table with some machinery underneath. When the woman is ready to deliver her child, she lies on the table on her back. They strap her down to the table, and then the table is rotated at high speed, and the child comes flying out. Okay, now I hope you will agree. All of these things deserve some kind of prize. This is a prize we gave last year for work that was done in 1939 or 1940. This was a paper that was published in a dairy industry journal dealing with cows and milk. It's called Factors Involved in the Ejection of Milk. They were trying to understand why sometimes a cow will suddenly let all of its milk go at once, which is a problem for the farmer, if not for the cow. Nobody knew, and they thought maybe they get frightened. So the question was, how do you frighten a cow scientifically? Let me read you from the middle of this research report. If you're close here, you can read along with me. Accordingly, cow number E307 was systematically frightened as the mechanical milker was attached. Frightening at first consisted in placing a cat on the cow's back and exploding paper bags every 10 seconds for 2 minutes. The last sentence here says, later, the cat was dispensed with as unnecessary. We thought this is complicated, so we had a little demonstration on stage with an inflatable cow, a toy cat, and paper bags blown up by 5 Nobel Prize winners. Right. And the ceremony itself is very elaborate. It all happens within 90 minutes, very fast. It's highly engineered. This is a photograph from last year, and this is at the start of the ceremony. We lead all of the winners in on a rope so they don't get lost. And there's a tradition, goes back to the second year of the ceremony. The audience created this tradition. It's continued. Many of the people who come to the ceremony come bringing lots of paper with them, which they turn into paper airplanes, and they throw at the stage, and the people on stage throw it right back. All right. So you've seen this photo before. This is how we normally do it, keep the time moving with the 8-year-old girl. This year, the 8-year-old girl was not able to come to the ceremony at the last minute, so we had to improvise. So we asked one of our regular staff people, could you step in and perform this role, please? And he agreed. Okay. Worked beautifully, but we will never do that again. Okay. And this is the Ig Nobel Prize. If you win an Ig Nobel Prize. It's a different design every year, always made from extremely cheap materials. Okay. There we go. All right, and here a quick look at the most recent group of Ig Nobel Prize winners who won their prize just a few weeks ago. And 2 of them are here tonight. The Ig Nobel Prize for Literature. Oh, by the way, we don't have the same categories every year. Other prizes do. But we pick the winners first, and then we try to figure out for each of them, is there some category that might describe this? The other thing a couple things you might want to know. One is we offer this prize. If we choose you to win a prize, we will get in touch with you quietly, and we will offer you the prize. If you want to say no, that's fine, and we never tell anybody, and we give it to somebody else. But almost everybody we offer a prize to says yes. The other thing is, unlike every other prize I know of, this is not about good or bad. If you win an Ig Nobel Prize, it says nothing about whether what you've done is good or bad or valuable or worthless. The only thing it says is you've done something so surprising it makes people laugh and then think. We gave a prize in literature to Dr. William Bean, who died many years ago. His son came to the ceremony, accepted the prize on his behalf. His son is 83 years old. Dr. Bean won the prize for persistently recording and analyzing the rate of growth of one of his fingernails. It was the literature prize because he published a series of reports over 35 years. Okay. That's his fingernail, and that's Dr. Bean, the owner of the fingernail. And this is one of the reports, and you can see every report had a chart in here showing what had happened. And he discovered all sorts of things. One was that people's fingernails slow down as they get older. The other, which wasn't really expected, was he discovered that every time he had an illness, flu or a cold or anything else, his fingernails stopped growing very fast. And then after he was healthy again, they continued. So that was part of the reason he thought about doing this. It's sort of a diagnostic thing that doctors might consider using. And there's his son accepting the Ig Nobel Prize from one of the Nobel laureates. Gave a prize in psychology to a team from Poland and Canada and Australia. They investigated what happens when you tell narcissists or tell anyone else that they are intelligent. Here's the paper they wrote about it. All these things, I'm giving you just a very short thing, but please feel free to go look up the details on these things. This paper they published is called Telling People They Are Intelligent Correlates with the Feeling of Narcissistic Uniqueness, the Influence of IQ Feedback on Temporary State Narcissism. Plenty of jargon in that title. And here are the winners accepting their Ig Nobel Prize. Gave a prize in the field of nutrition to a team from Europe and Africa. They studied the extent to which a certain kind of lizard chooses to eat certain kinds of pizza. They published this paper about it, Opportunistic Foraging Strategy of Rainbow Lizards at a Seaside Resort in Togo. There are some flavors they absolutely refused to touch. And here is one of the winners. Here's one of the winners. Gave a prize in the field of pediatrics, the study of things to do with children, especially medical things, to two scientists who studied what a nursing baby experiences when the baby's mother eats garlic. Right? Which will probably strike some of you as completely ridiculous, and some of you who are mothers and had people ask you about that and got you worrying crazily. Maybe that doesn't seem like such a crazy thing to ask. Here's the paper they published about it called Maternal Diet Affects the Sensory Qualities of Human Milk and the Nursling's Behavior. And here they are, having someone encourage them to finish their acceptance speech. Gave a prize in the field of biology to a large team of Japanese scientists who did some experiments to learn whether cows, I noticed earlier today, lots of technology here involved cows. These people did some experiments to learn whether cows painted with zebra-like striping can avoid being bitten by flies. Here's the work. And the answer to that question, they say, is yes. The cows they painted were bitten far less often by flies or by anything else. And here they are, the winners accepting their prize from a Nobel laureate, Eric Maskin, who was making a face that mirrored the design in the prize. And in the middle of the acceptance speech, he took off his normal suit and shirt, and he was dressed like a zebra underneath. The crowd went crazy. Gave a chemistry prize to a team of chemists who did experiments to test whether eating Teflon, as you may know, Teflon is a form of plastic more formally called polytetrafluoroethylene. So they tested whether eating Teflon is a good way to increase food volume and hence the feeling that you are full without increasing the calorie content of what you're eating. So you think of this, if you want, as the Teflon diet. And here's the paper they wrote about it. Yes, polytetrafluoroethylene ingestion as a way to increase food volume and hence satiety without increasing calorie content. And here's one of the winners. With attitude. We gave a peace prize, we usually do, to a team from several European countries who showed that drinking alcohol sometimes improves a person's ability to speak in a foreign language. The paper they wrote about it is called Dutch Courage, and some of you may know that phrase, Effects of Acute Alcohol Consumption on Self-Ratings and Observer Ratings of Foreign Language Skills. Okay, just curious, anybody here experience this same thing? Yeah. Anybody here experience the opposite? Yeah, and okay, here are two of the team members. We gave a prize in the field of engineering design to a team of scientists in India who analyzed from an engineering design perspective how foul-smelling shoes affect the good experience of using a shoe rack. The paper they wrote about it is called Smelly Shoes, an opportunity for shoe rack redesign. Now, did I mention to you that we have a timing device that we're intending to use to keep the speeches here from going on too long? It's very important that you have a timing device if you ever organize something, because if you don't, it's a miserable time for everybody. You want to use a timing device that is reliable and works, and which is hard to resist, and which may be charming, or not. Okay, thank you, bananas. Well, I told you several of the winners. You can go look up yourself the other winners from this year and from past years on our website, improbable.com. And now we're going to have two short lectures, each of them 5 minutes long. The first will be by two members of the team that won the Ig Nobel Physics Prize. And I will let them explain to you what they did and why they did it. Please welcome, I always write down people's names, even if I've known them for 20 years, because you know what it's like when you're announcing. So please welcome Ivan. Yes. Ivan, they're both Italian originally, but did the work in Germany. Ivan Di Terlizzi and Vincenzo Cimenti.
So, hello everyone. It's a great pleasure to be here and in such a prestigious venue to present our work on cacio e pepe. So, cacio e pepe is a delicious and very famous dish appreciated all over the world, like many other Italian dishes. And today, you know what you are thinking. This is not serious research. But this is not true. And to convince you about it, we will start from some hardcore mathematics. This is the fundamental equation of cacio e pepe. You have pasta. Please buy Italian for quality and helping out our economy. Pecorino cheese, again, quality and help our economy. Pasta water, which is nothing else than water enriched with starch, which is the protagonist of our research. And of course, pepper. So despite the very short list of ingredients, this recipe is actually very, very tricky. And the reason is that the sauce is not stable above 65 degrees. Problem is, pasta cooks at 100 degrees. So sometimes, instead of a smooth, delicious sauce, you get a stringy, unpleasant, clumpy sauce, which makes all known as in Italy very unhappy. So the reason why this happens is that proteins contained in cheese usually stabilize emulsions, like casein, when temperatures are low. But when temperatures are high, what happens is that proteins denature, and instead of stabilizing the sauce, they denature and aggregate, ending up in this, again, very lumpy and unpleasant sauce. So you see, this is a phase transition. So this phenomenon triggered our curiosity as physicists. So what we decided to do was to design a cutting-edge, state-of-the-art, AI-driven, soon to be patented experimental apparatus, which we built in our kitchen. And I'm trying to do business here.
Doesn't work. Help me.
Wait 1 second.
It's important.
Wait 1 second. So, don't do this at home. Buy a...
Did you see that?
Here it's more practical.
Thank you, Ivan.
So as you can see, we used a sous vide cooker, a broken pot, some stolen Petri dishes, and this enabled us to study the sauce at various, in various situations for different physical parameters, like starch concentration and temperature. So what we ended up with is a phase diagram of the cacio e pepe sauce. And what we realized is that below a critical starch concentration, which is 1% of starch with respect to the cheese mass, the sauce is not stable and ends up in a newly discovered state of matter, which we denote as the mozzarella phase. But, theory is nice, but to do business, you need a final product. So we decided to develop a scientifically optimized recipe that doesn't look at all like what Vincenzo just did.
What?
It's still true. And instead of...
Later.
So this will allow you to reach the perfect consistency consistently. And instead of using powder starch, you actually have to jellify the starch, blend everything together, and then what you get is a sauce that is stable also up to 100 degrees. But again, in business, it's important scalability. And this is where our recipe really shines. And as you can see, like what we performed is the thermodynamic limit. And it was so successful that even some very important media outlet noticed it. And they also found time to deal with some minor geopolitical issues. Again, this is our kitchen. And thank you. So, thank you all for listening to me. This is our families that came to Boston with us. And there was my mom, some grandmas. And we are very happy about it. And thank you very much for your attention. Here you go. Okay. Somebody want some?
Okay.
Dinner.
Feel free to invite them out to dinner afterwards, if you like. Our next speaker won the Ig Nobel Biology Prize in the year 2003. He is an ornithologist. He studies birds. He has just retired as director of the Natural History Museum in the city of Rotterdam in the Netherlands. He discovered something unusual and wrote a paper about it and ended up winning a prize. He will tell you all about it. Please welcome Kees Moeliker.
Good afternoon. This is the Natural History Museum in Rotterdam, where I worked for 37 years in a row. Most of the time I was curator. It means I was responsible for the collection. Collection of animals, collection of dead animals. And in 1995, the museum got an interesting new building. It was made of glass. It was a beautifully designed architectural masterpiece. But it was a real bird killer. You may know birds. Birds don't break walls. Birds don't break windows. They get killed by it. And in those years, in the early 90s, it meant work for the bird department. And all the birds that crashed into the building got a place in the bird collection for the museum. So it became kind of fun for me, all those birds. And I developed the absolute ear for birds that crashed against the window. But on June 5th, 1995, I heard this tremendous loud bang against the window of my office. And then I looked out of the office and I said this. I saw this. The bird that crashed was a mallard, a stokente. But next to the dead duck was a live duck. Then this happened. The live duck mounted the dead duck and started to copulate. Well, I'm a biologist, I'm an ornithologist, I know bird literature, but I said, oh, this is something strange. One is dead, one is alive, there's copulation, that's necrophilia. And if you look careful at the birds, they're both of the male sex, homosexual necrophilia. So I took my camera, took my notebook, and I started to watch this behavior because I thought this must be new to science. And I had plenty of time. I watched it for 75 minutes. After 75 minutes, well, I had seen enough. I was getting hungry. I wanted to go home. But before I went home, I took the bird, I took the dead duck into the museum, of course, to be prepared. I put it in the freezer and I checked the sex. It was indeed of the male sex. Here is the duck's penis. It's pretty rare to see duck's penises, but here is for you tonight, a picture of a duck's penis. Here are my notes from June 5th, 1995. I kept the notes to myself for about 6 years. I mean, I told the story at birthday parties or in the pub, but I could not publish this because I didn't have the framework, I didn't have the background information what really happened here. But after 6 years, I finally, came out of the closet with it. Here's the paper, the first case of homosexual necrophilia in the mallard. And here's the situation again. A is my office, B is where the duck crashed the window, and C is from where I watched this. And here are the ducks again. Well, as you know in science, when you publish a paper, 6 or 7 people read it, and that's history. Then it's history. But then I got this message from Marc, who told me I'd won a prize. I won the Ig Nobel Prize, and he invited me to come to Boston, Cambridge, Massachusetts, to collect the prize. And I have the pleasure to introduce the duck. It's a specimen. I will give it to the first row. Don't abuse it. Yeah, give it around. Make sure it's coming back. And then my life changed. I became known as the duck guy. I have a long collection, a big collection of duck-related stuff. A very big collection. I published a book, even in German, Der Entenmann. And what's more important, people were sending me all kinds of images, stories about birds that behaved that's not really in the biology books. And here's an example. Here's a moose trying to copulate with a bison. Here is a frog trying to copulate with a goldfish. And here is the last one. Here's I don't know what it is. Thank you very much. Ah. Where's the duck? All right, all right. Give it back.
We have time to let it go
Okay,
around while we're... Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So what we're going to do for the rest of the time is stand here and display ourselves and ask each other questions about the work that was done. We'll ask a few questions, and then if you have some questions, just raise your arm, and we will have a discussion. Okay? And please do take care of that duck. That's a historic duck. Okay. No matter how tempting, don't chew on it. Okay. Kees, do you have any questions for the pasta guys?
Yeah, well, first of all, congratulations with your prize. It will definitely change your life.
Thank you.
I mean, you're here now in Berlin. I mean, look at this.
Hi, Mom.
Well, I'm always curious about how do you come up with the idea to study this? I mean, you're physicist, you're Italian, but that's a long way apart. So explain to me.
I think it's for you, this one. Yeah.
So we are Italian.
Yes.
We live in Germany. And we really like to gather all together at mostly at our place.
Yeah.
And cook together for Italians, non-Italians. And sometimes we were cooking carbonara, sometimes we were cooking puttanesca. At a certain point, people started asking, but why don't you cook cacio e pepe? And the answer was, look, cooking for more than 10 people, it's basically impossible. Because you will end up with something which is non-optimal, and most importantly, you will waste some good pecorino, and non-Italians will laugh at us. So we won't do that.
We lose our position in the world.
Yeah, exactly. So at a certain point, we started saying, like, but actually, this is a very interesting phenomenon.
Yeah.
Like, why does it happen? So we looked a little bit in the literature, and some people, of course, tackle the problem, but not with the right scientific rigor. So we started saying, well, maybe we could do it. And it became a joke for a very long time, when we will do the face separation in cacio e pepe.
We were very careful, right?
Face separation, all right?
Yeah, because in our institute, one big part of the research is this phase separation, which is very important for Alzheimer's, for example, and organelle formation in cells. And we said, this looks the same. So, which actually it's not the same, but like that was the idea at the beginning. And then it actually happened. Like a lot of people went away from Dresden, and we said we need an excuse to meet all together, have fun, eat, but at least with a pseudo-scientific reason. So we said, okay, let's put 8 Italians in a kitchen for one weekend, and let's see what happens. And then after like some days of trying and like using broken pots,
We burned a lot of pecorino with that at the beginning.
we realized that actually this was doable.
Okay.
And then I would say the rest is history.
Yeah,
no?
that's the history.
And then
So
you
yeah,
did it.
this was
Have you been getting any angry response from Italian cooks?
Slightly at the beginning.
Because your technique is different from the traditional.
Yes. Okay. So, in what differentiates the? I'm trying to be a bit scientific, like the tone, and like we introduced an alien ingredient, which is starch, which in principle is in the pasta water, right? But we add it in the preparation of the sauce to stabilize, as Ivan skillfully explained before. And I mean, still in the science community, like people were happy. We were shared by Giorgio Parisi, Nobel Prize winner of some years ago. We were very happy about that. And however, when this news arrived to Instagram, arrived to social networks, then the flood arrived, right? And we had many people answering, no, but you are destroying the Italian tradition. This is not how you do it. You people live in Germany. These Germans are destroying the Italian tradition.
These German chemists.
Like we are Italian, everything was wrong. And then we discovered, actually,
a recipe should be about love, not science.
Not about science. Yes, this was the best comment, yes.
It's not true.
And then we also discovered that an Italian chef, actually, some years ago, came up with a similar solution, and we cited him in the paper, So you have to give your reference, your Google Scholar.
And this is like the entire history of science, where somebody discovers something, they become famous, and then later people realize 100 years ago someone else discovered that.
Exactly.
And was poor and starving and died.
Exactly. In our case, we were accused, actually, of not citing this chef work.
But we cited him.
Hey, at the
We
risk
were
of cutting off this eternal flow of pasta information, pasta sauce.
Sorry.
Okay, I'm gonna eat some.
Do you have a question for Kees?
Yes, I will be very direct, so I apologize in advance.
Okay.
Why do you like birds so much?
Well, birds are everywhere.
True.
They're easy to observe, even with your bare eye or with your telephone, or if you take a little pair of binoculars. And they do strange things. I mean, you can always discover something when you study birds. I mean, if you study nature, you can do discoveries, but birds are very, very interesting and very obvious. They're everywhere, and you can actually, make a discovery like I did. Yeah,
Makes sense.
And may I follow up on that? Like, is it reproducible? This
Could you clarify what you mean?
They were
by that
reproducing.
question?
They were reproducing. No, okay, yes. That's a different interpretation of the word. Yes, absolutely. What I mean is that did you happen to observe a similar behavior either in ducks again?
Well,
or
not myself, because this is a chance event. I mean, just June 5th, 1995.
But Netherlands is not special for this.
It's not really special, but after I published it, and especially after I won the Ig Nobel Prize, a lot of people were sending me their observations, and also from researchers who happen to have a book in their library from the 1920s, for example, about penguins, and it's there. It was published, but it was hidden. The words were different, but the behavior was there. And I've compiled now I call it the necrophilia files. It ranges to 90 vertebrate species, so animals with backbones, from birds, mammals,
What's
frogs,
the largest animal that you're aware of?
a whale.
I mean, that did that.
Yeah.
There's a documented
There's
case.
yeah. There's.
How did they document that?
You know, they had these underwater cameras monitoring whale behavior, and it was there. Yeah. And there was a recent case in Italy
I just
because
Italian pride.
people use these wildlife cameras, camera traps. They put them everywhere, so you can just go to sleep and put it in a forest, and then if something happens in the forest. And there was a case in the north of Italy of a badger who found a dead badger decomposed.
Okay, that's next stage.
It's there. It happened. Yep.
And sorry, if I can take like the last really curiosity. Do you know if there is any evolutionary advantage to this behavior?
No, that's the key question, of course. Why? Well, basically, you cannot say it's a mistake, because I mean, in nature and especially in evolution, there are no mistakes. But when it is a kind of coincidence between involving the season, so it has to be the breeding season.
Yes.
The sudden death, it means the victim must be dead in a sudden, dramatic way, like traffic or hunting or a glass window. If a bird dies or an animal dies of old age, hidden away, nothing will happen. And then, of course, there is also so the hormones are there, the season, and it can happen.
Okay.
Yeah. And
Kees, there was
Almost a ritual.
wasn't there an incident involving a bison?
yeah,
Could you tell about that a little bit?
the bison. It was a moose it was. I think it was in Montana somewhere.
Yeah.
There was a statue of a bronze bison, and I showed it to you there. And the bison was there for ages, and then there was a moose in, let's say, breeding condition, and he tried to copulate with this statue, and it caused a traffic jam. All right. And for example, also in frogs and toads, it's very common for frogs and toads to copulate with almost anything.
So the shape plays a role.
The shape or your shoe or whatever. If the time is right, if the hormones are right, if it's there, it happens. Yeah. So there's no evolutionary benefits, or maybe
That we know of, at least.
that we know of.
Yeah. Hey, let me ask a pasta-related question. There's been a lot of other scientific research involving pasta, and some of it has won an Ig Nobel Prize. Could you talk about one or two cases that intrigue you especially?
I mean, the most famous is about spaghetti, right?
Yeah.
So this was a question posed by Richard Feynman, actually, already. And it was about the reason why, if you try to break spaghetti,
A piece of dried spaghetti.
dried spaghetti, sure. Yeah, it's very hard to, wine never breaks in 2 parts, and it's always more than 2 parts, right?
Parts.
Sorry?
Parts.
Parts. Yeah, sorry, my S is a bit
problem.
funny. But yeah, so like this was generally, we can call it like mechanical question, right? And Richard Feynman at some point started to break pasta in his office. So you imagine this guy developing the fundamental theory of natures and at the same time breaking spaghettis, That's the beauty of science sometimes. And then, this question remained unanswered basically for 40 years, right? Something like this.
More or less.
Yeah, right? And in 2014, if I'm not wrong.
I think so.
This problem was tackled seriously. So I read the paper at some point, and they put the spaghetti into this kind of standing thingies, and they really, with a high-speed camera, they observed, and they saw that the way, like along the spaghetti. This is the singular of spaghetti, just for, or the noodle, if you are in Germany. How it breaks, and then they came up, I think, with a mathematical model for the breaking, and they finally closed down the long-standing questions. And in a sense, this problem was never tackled, but you can imagine that this kind of discovery can be transferred to some other things like, I don't know, to mechanic of buildings and so on and so forth, right? So, I mean, I hope our our little experiment.
There's a lot of stuff that we've given prizes to that involves mathematics, usually applied mathematics, that sounds almost like a child is the only person who would think of it. But there are all kinds of questions. If you just walk out into the street and look at things and ask yourself, why is a tree shaped the way it is? There are many other shapes you could imagine, but you never see them. Why is that? And it turns out that there are mathematical reasons for that and all these things. And those often appeal to us, and they lead in odd directions. We gave a prize to a French physicist who wrote a paper explaining why cats, the animal, why cats can, in a pretty real sense, be considered to be both a solid and a liquid.
The time scale, right?
Yeah, and once you read that paper, and it's unlike many scientific papers, it's written for people to read it. It will point you in a lot of directions you never expected to go, and that will make sense for you and make you the center of any party you go to if you want to talk about it.
Is there a question we can ask you?
Sure.
Yeah? I mean, you told us that the prize started in 1991. That's 35, 36 years ago.
Yeah.
What happened in your brain when you decided, I want this prize to be something that's given out every year?
I'll talk about this more in detail on Friday. or Saturday. I'm doing a fireside chat about it. But the quick version is everything involved with the Ig Nobel Prizes and the magazine. I really was doing stuff like this when I was a little kid, but not in an organized way. And I never saw any adults doing things like this, so I never dreamed of doing this when I was an adult. But I found as I got older, I was writing things and collecting. Even when I was a little kid, I would collect from the news stories of strange things that were funny about science. And eventually, I got the idea in my head that of all these things I'm writing and I give to a few friends, what would happen if I try to get something published? Because I never tried. So I sent some things off to a magazine, and I got a telephone call from a man who said, "Hi, I'm the publisher of the magazine. I got your articles. Would you be the editor of the magazine?" So this entered me into a different world. And immediately I was starting to meet lots of inventors and scientists who've done, I was going to say things like this, but there's nothing to compare to anything. But that was the point. These really unusual things, and most of these people, nobody knew they existed. And I kept thinking, this is wrong. Somebody should do something. And then I realized, well, we have a little magazine. We can do something. So we started a little prize ceremony every year to pick out, let's say, 10 of these from around the world. Let's invite them to come. And also I'd been meeting a lot of scientists and journalists and even some very famous scientists. So I invited 4 Nobel Prize winners to come to the first ceremony and hand out the prizes, and they all said, okay, and they showed up. Journalists showed up. It got tremendous amounts of attention. Somebody introduced me to a person who ran the museum at MIT, the engineering school in Massachusetts, who said, do you have a place to have this? No. Do you want to have it here? Sure. So we had a place. And it was a period of a few months when just everything seemed to go right. And it got so much happy attention, the next year we could do it on a much bigger scale, and that's continued ever since.
Okay.
Yeah. So I should say to you, if you know of somebody or team that really deserves an Ig Nobel Prize, the first moment you heard what they did, you started laughing, and then it stayed in your head, so you started telling people, and you think anybody is going to react this way. Tell us. That's how we learn about almost all of these things. We get, in a typical year, something like 10,000 new nominations. And we're always looking. We is a big group of people, almost all volunteers, spread all around the world. And we argue over these things when they come in. We argue like crazy over these things. It's okay to nominate yourself. Consistently, between 10 and 20% of the nominations are people nominating themselves. They almost never win. But a few times they have. So don't be shy. If you think you've done something that should get some attention, please tell us. Okay? Again, wait till the end of this session, but then please tell us. Okay. I think it's time we should start asking, do you have any questions for any of the winners? Yeah, and whoever has the microphone should, if you can just pick.
Many questions.
Yes. I didn't remember.
Hi there. So I'm not sure to whom this is, so you can pick that. But you started by saying that you're talking about improbable science. But there's a lot of improbable science. And what you're actually talking about is funny science, which is better, because humor is really missing from
Well, actually, the way I think about it is almost all science starts out feeling improbable. If you talk to anybody who got lucky, they discovered something, and then the world discovered it and it became famous and maybe even made a lot of money or something, if you really push them for the story of the week you thought of this, what happened? Did everybody get excited when you told them? And the answer always is no. They didn't want to pay any attention. They thought I was stupid or crazy, and they ignored me. I mean, almost all science starts that way. But by the time it becomes famous, the story changes. And by the time it's taught in school, we're all taught a very different story. This amazing genius discovered this, and the whole world instantly realized how wonderful it was. That doesn't happen very often.
Yeah, exactly. So that's my point. But you're touching something that is missing, at least in science communication, and sometimes also in scientific work, which is humor.
I agree.
And I'm wondering if you have an ideas about how humor can be more part of not just Ig Nobel science, but of the regular science. Where should it appear, and how can it be part of science?
Okay. Here's the simple answer to that, which is probably the whole answer. Don't try to tell jokes about it. But when you talk to people, not other scientists, when you talk to your family or your friends, when you see them start to laugh, write down the words you used. And the next time you tell the story, try those words again and see if other people react. That way, you discover genuinely funny things. You've tested it. You know it's funny, and you're not telling jokes. And the moment they realize you're not telling a joke, he was telling me something that's real, and I can go and look at it, that's when it's really funny to them.
Thank you.
Thank you for your amazing performance. Coming from the home country of the Nobel Prize, I was wondering whether any of the Ig Nobel Prize winners has also become Nobel laureates.
Yes, and it did happen in the same order that you're suggesting it. In the year 2000, we gave an Ig Nobel Prize to two physicists. One of them named Michael Berry, who is British, and the other named Andrei Geim, originally Russian, who at the time was living in the Netherlands and has since moved to Manchester University in the UK, where he's a professor. They won the Ig Nobel Physics Prize because they used magnets to levitate a frog. Something which almost no other physicist believed would be possible. And then they wrote a paper explaining the physics of how that works. 10 years later, Andrei Geim, same person, was awarded a Nobel Prize, also in physics, for something that sounded even goofier, which I won't go into here. You can look it up yourself. There are some other connections, too. One of the people who was in our ceremony sweeping paper airplanes from the stage. If you have 1,200 people throwing paper airplanes, you need to sweep the stage. There was a physics professor doing that for 10 years in our ceremony, and then he got a phone call one day from Stockholm, Sweden, informing him he'd won a Nobel Prize. Not for the paper airplanes, And Roy Glauber is his name. And then he continued for the rest of his life, being in the ceremony, handing out the prizes, and still sweeping the paper airplanes. Okay. We have time for one more question if it's 4 words or less.
Your favorite Ig Nobel?
I'll let Kees answer that.
Well, let me think. That's 1 second. I think the sword swallowing and its side effects.
Yeah.
Look it up. Look it up.
Yeah. 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 There was a medical paper in a British medical journal.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, bananas, don't go away. Okay, so thank you all for coming.
Can I have my duck back, please?
Yeah, we need the duck.
Okay, good. Thank
we
you.
need the duck back.
It's there. Okay.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Sorry.
Okay, yeah. Thank you all, everyone at Falling Walls for inviting us. Thank you all for coming. Thank you, Kees. Thank you, Ivan. Thank you, dear mozzarella face. And most of all, thank you to the bananas. Thanks. Thank you.